Well, hello everyone. My name is Alison Woodall and I'm a relocation specialist. That means I get to help you with the financial, logistical, and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I am talking to Mary Alice, and she moved from California to Maine. Mary Alice, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Yeah.
Well, I am so excited to talk to you because we have so many people in the groups who are thinking, when they think about leaving California, they either want to stay close to home in California or they want to move to Tennessee or to Texas. So I am so glad to talk to someone who has moved much further away, literally the furthest away that you can get from California. So when did you start to kind of think about leaving California?
Well, I am originally from New York, upstate New York, and when I say upstate, it's I went to school an hour outside Buffalo, so I'm used to the cold, and hopefully muscle memory would kick in, and it did. And also, my family is all up and down the coast, this East Coast. So I thought eventually I would move out back here, but I think the one thing that was the trigger was the earthquake of '94, the Northridge earthquake, and that was at the top of my list by the time, at that time, things have moved. But it's also when I retire, it would be more. I'd have a better life because the cost of living. So,
And how many years did you live in California?
I went out there in '84 and then joined a company out of California, and then came back, got married, lived in New York, went back to California. So '90, I went back, and then I lived in the house. Sold there about 30 years.
Wow. So it's not like you were just, I mean, I was in California for a year and a half, so I don't ever consider myself like a true Californian. But when you've lived there that long, it becomes part of you. So then, although you had family in Maine, I'm guessing it was still a pretty difficult decision to leave California and go to Maine. What were the main things that kind of drove that decision?
Well, I wasn't going anywhere until I had a good pension, so I wouldn't leave my job for a while. And my relative moved his whole family from California to Maine. There was no way I would go back to New York because it's like trading one high-tech state for another. But on his lead, I visited and I checked it out and that type of thing. And that's what keyed me to come to Maine.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then choosing where you live in Maine, was that a hard decision, or did you just go to that particular town and be like, oh, this is where I belong, I've found my home?
Well, I always wanted to be in Camden. Always, 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 always. I'm a real coastal kind of girl. We used to vacation Cape Cod every summer on the cheap, my family. So I love the coast. But my family was farther inland, so I chose to be near the family that moved here, so I could follow their network. It's important to have that network if you can, and then and have just interaction that you don't know anybody else, so you start to get to know people through them.
All right. Well, wonderful. And what is your favorite thing about living in Maine?
Well, it feels like I can breathe. It's not as packed with people and traffic and the freeways and not the freeways. They were constantly, they always say it's laid back California. Not so. It's a real, you're tense all the time as far as you're driving and people, and it's just a lot of people too. And here I just feel like I breathe. I can breathe, and the air is better too. I can breathe.
Because I worked in New Hampshire for 6 months, and I used to drive into Maine all the time, and it's just the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful states. And so I do get what you say about just open spaces, and to me it's as beautiful as California. It's just a slightly colder version of California.
Well, I'm from Southern California, so it's a very colder version.
Yeah. So how, obviously, you grew up with snow and cold weather, but having lived in California for so long, has that been a bigger adjustment than you were expecting to deal with the cold winters?
No, I feel like my muscle memory is kicked in, and my daughter came with me. So she is born and bred in California, and she's still thrilled with the snow. So we'll see next year how she feels. But it hasn't bothered me at all, really, and I'm fine with it.
Well, wonderful. Yeah, I always say to people, there's always 3 months of the year, wherever you live, anywhere in the world, that are not so pleasant. So do you choose harsh winters to have that beautiful mild summer, or do you choose, like mild winters to have burning hot summers? So,
I would always say, in the summer I hibernated because I just stayed in air conditioning all the time, and that's not pleasant. So it was a good trade-off for me.
Yeah. Well, I also spent a winter in Canada, and I remember when I first got there. Well, when I lived in England, I'd never seen a frozen lake until I moved to Minnesota for a few months, and so then that first winter in Canada, I mean, literally, it was so cold that Fahrenheit and Celsius would cross. And those first few weeks, I thought, I will never adjust to this. I can't possibly adjust to this. And then by the end of winter, it would get up to like 30 degrees and we'd be out in sweatshirts because freezing felt warm because we were so used to it being so much colder. But does Maine get that cold? I'm not sure about the winter temperatures.
It's at night. It's last week, a couple weeks ago, it was below. It was 7 below, 4 below, and but now it's in the 40s, and all the snow that we got hit with last week is now melting. And I'm out in a sweatshirt, so I understand.
Yeah, my husband's born and raised in Georgia, and right now he's up in I don't know, Wisconsin or somewhere, and he's been there for a couple of weeks. And he said, the first few days he couldn't believe how cold it was, and then by the end of it, he's like, oh, it's getting warmer, because it was like freezing. So you do adapt, and you dress for the weather as well.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to talk about your actual move, because getting from California all the way to Maine is a very long way to go. Did you travel very light and leave most of your stuff in California? Did you book a moving truck? Did you fly? How did you get you and your stuff from California to Maine?
We used a pod from Pods, and they were great. And I hired one of the 3 people referred by Pods, and that group was referred by the woman on the same cul-de-sac who used it. I mean, it was crazy time, and they were great. They packed that thing like a Tetris puzzle. They put much more in there than I could ever have done. And then we sent the pod, and then I drove with my daughter and my dog cross country.
Did you just do a straight shot, or did you make it fun and do like a road trip?
I would have loved to, visit more people. It would have been a little bit more zigzag. But to be honest, at the end of that drama for months, from purging to getting in the car, it's just to let me get there. Let me get there. I don't want to do this anymore. So we went more. It was about 4 days. So we went straight.
Yeah. Well, so I'm actually doing a live training this evening all about, creating a budget. And one of the big things that I tell people to budget for is your cost from getting from California or wherever you're moving from to your new state. And then everybody is different, because some people are like, yeah, I'm so tired, I'm so over this, I just want to get there as fast as possible and move into my new home and start my new life. And then there's other people who want to turn it into a big road trip. And so when you say, I'm a road trip person, I've lived here 20 years, but there's still so much of the US that I want to see. Even though I've seen 50 states, I want to go back and visit them. So I see that as this beautiful, amazing chance to take a big road trip. But I know sometimes finances, or just, if you've got a job that you need to get to, or if you're just done with moving.
Well, I was done with moving. And also that was my 4th cross-country trip. I've gone back and forth several times with different life events. And so I had gone the southern route. So at least I went the northern route, at least a different route. But there were a couple more people I wanted to go and stay with overnight. As it was, I got to stay with a couple of friends and family on the way. So that was nice. But, Yeah, I was very done with moving.
And how did your dog travel? Because people always worry about how their dogs travel.
He's a Maltipoo, so he's smaller. And in the beginning, he's never been a good car driver. And he learned after the first day, sleep all the way. And I would wake him up, we'd let him out to do his business, and then get back in the car, and he laid down to fall asleep on my daughter's lap. She had him on the whole way. So
Oh, yeah, because I have a border collie. I always say I have the world's laziest border collie, because people think of border collies being high energy. Mine's not. And when we set off and we did our 6-week road trip from Florida to California, the first couple of days he was looking out of the window. He's too big to sleep on someone's lap, but he was trying to sit on the seat and look out. And then by about the 4th day, he was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to sleep.
yeah, I'm gonna go lay down.
Yeah, and then we stayed in La Quintas, which, because they don't charge a pet fee. If there wasn't a La Quinta, we'd save lots of money and stay in a Motel 6, because they don't charge pet fees, but normally they smell, and it's not that luxury experience. But it's, I always say, just if you just figure out and plan a little bit ahead, then you'll find ways to travel with dogs.
Really.
Okay, so do you have any advice for someone who maybe is retiring out of California and finding somewhere that they want to move to, or just general advice to move to Maine?
Well, I definitely didn't want to retire and live there. I could have, but it would have been more budgeted. I mean, I have HOA fees. I don't have that. I had high air conditioning fees in the summer. I don't have that. It's something to think about, your cost day to day, and how much it's going to take, how much of a chunk it's going to take out of your retirement. And I also didn't want to go too early. The more years I worked, the more pension I would get. But it's something to think about, because I want to take trips down south and visit other family and go down to Florida. I don't want to be constrained not to be able to do that. And being in California, for one thing, is distance to all the family and friends I have over here. And also the cost. I wouldn't be able to afford all the, any planes or anything. This way I can drive and go south. And it's afforded me a little extra to be able to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
It's something to really think about, because I don't know about Tennessee and Texas now, Florida. I think all these people moving there, I've heard, oh gosh, California people come and prices go up, and the cost of housing and everything. So it might be a similar case when you go to these places. So it's nice to look outside the box.
Yeah, and even in those states, you can still find very, very affordable homes. Now, if you go to Nashville or if you go to Austin, you're going to struggle, and the price point is going to be so much higher. But if you choose a Midwestern state, there are still beautiful homes that are around about 200,000. I've even talked to realtors where you can find beautiful houses around 150,000, and you may even get some acreage for that. If you want to leave California badly enough, and you're choosing a standard of living, then you just have to choose your state carefully, knowing where your money is going to go the furthest. Do you have any idea what the average house price is in Maine? I haven't spoken to Maine realtor.
Well, I purchased a home, and this is when it was set. I had to make several offers, because here was the same as California. They would have multiple offers, and they just didn't want to play around, say, just give me your offer, we're taking the lowest, because then you could say, well, contingent, and raise it so much if someone else, kind of thing. I don't know what you call those things. They're realtors now. They were not even entertaining that stuff. They just, too many offers. Mm-hmm. So I bought my house for $260,000 at 1,800 square feet, and some land, a little bit of land around it. And you could get a good house up here for even that now. It's not, I don't know what the market's like. I haven't looked at my realtor's update yet, so I'm gonna have to go look, but definitely in the mid 200s, or less than 300, you can get one here. Yeah, and that's what spurred me to move. Eventually, that's the thing that made me move, was I could sell mine for as much as possible. So that's what you want to watch too.
And I didn't expect you to be like real estate price, but you know, when you live somewhere, you have a rough idea. And I always think of New England as more expensive. It tends to be, you know, than say Mississippi or Alabama. It's a more expensive area, but to know that there are still affordable properties in New England it gives people, I want to give people options so that if they think that Nashville's too expensive, well, broaden your horizons and think about Maine or something.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Anything else you would like to add before we finish?
Well, I think when you move, just to suggest, you know, just a tip, when you move, you have to decompress. You have to, even though I'm from New York originally, I mean, I went to California, it was different for me and kind of changed to adapt. When you come to a place like this, or anywhere, Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida, you have to decompress that California tension out of you that you're always been on, and you're always thinking a certain way. It's a decompression time. See how everybody's talking to you, and it really helps you to relax and be part of the state, part of where you are.
That's wonderful. And I always say, do whatever the locals do and eat whatever they eat. If someone gives me something to eat that looks really weird, I'm like, sure, I'll try it. If they say, let's go do something, you know, I'm always up for it. I say, no problem at all. Whatever you want me to do, even if I think I'm going to hate it, because you just never know. I remember the first time when I moved here from England and someone gave me biscuits and gravy in Georgia, I was like, what is that? Yeah, now it's one of my favorites.
Well, that's funny. We have a British connection. My daughter's got dual, and her grandmother's over there. So I love that food. I mean, I know that it's we love we eat Marmite, and we you know, eat bangers and mash and that type of stuff. So I'm always open to new food choices. But here it's lobster. I'm ready to eat my lobster. So.
I know, I love lobster. I had a guy from Maine was the person who taught me how to eat lobster, and I had lobster it was somewhere in Maine, I can't remember. And then when you go to Red Lobster after you've eaten lobster in Maine with a local, it's a bit of a sad experience. It's still yummy, but yes, Maine lobster and all the seafood and everything is just phenomenal.
Very much so.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. I know you'll have inspired so many people and maybe got them thinking about Maine when they wouldn't have considered it before.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it's really a different look at what life you want to do. And do you want to go to everybody? Well, they have a lot of friends probably going to these places. I still have friends in California that I still communicate with, and we talk all the time. People are going to come here and visit me. So that's something to think about.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.